Hello guys, my name is Rose Katlagomuela, known as Rose Katlago to you guys, and welcome to the TTB show. And today's episode is the one and only Big Daddy, and we are doing a Big Daddy Scouting 101. This is our third episode, and I'm so excited about today. But before we get into it, man, Brasmanga, how are you doing? How are you doing, Big Daddy?
I'm good, Rose. They told me what you called me Brasmaga. They told me. Now I could hear myself. Incredible, Sister Rose. And you look amazing as usual, eh?
No, thank you so much, man. Thank you. It's been a while since we've done one of these shows, but I'm really excited. But before we get into the player that we're going to be profiling today, technically breaking down the player, I just want you to take us down memory lane. Before we zoom into the player that we're going to be talking about, just take us down memory lane, especially for those that don't maybe remember, or maybe about 2000 that don't know why exactly why we actually chose this player, what that this player reminds you of.
Look, Rose, this one is a special one. Now, let's go back. This takes me back to 2003, right? It was Orlando Pirates versus Tottenham Hotspur. It was the Vodacom Cup. Orlando Pirates won that match 2-1. And towards the end of the match, Rose, Thabo Mngomeni, Sailor Shabalala, Steve Lekolea, they did what everybody calls showboating. But what people don't remember is the masterclass performance, from none other than the Big John, Mbulelo Mabizela, how he used to read the game and how technically sound the player was, how he could play from the back. People are talking about center backs that can play from the back. It started with Mabizela way back. The high level of comfort, when he's on the ball. At that time, it wasn't necessarily fashionable, remember, after that, he went on a short trial as well to Tottenham Hotspur. And by the way, he scored on his debut goal against Leicester City, and then he went on and made 9 appearances, for the team. And you know what? There is a player, Rose, and he plays for Mamelodi Sundowns. I've been raving about this player the entire DDC season. And that player was wearing number 25 in that Sundowns team, and he was playing in role Rivaldo Kutsie, and later on in role Bongan Zungu, especially the one where you play as a center back and then you move into midfield, and they call it a pivot center back. Rose, today I want to profile none other than Malibongwe Khoza.
Wow, no, you speak very highly of him, I can tell. And speaking of the DTC, there's a lot of players that are coming up in the PSL, which is very, very good. Shout out to that competition. I think it's really, really making a difference in terms of the league, and not only the league, but the development of South African young players. I love that. But why particularly this player? I mean, there's so many enterprising players in the league, but why choose this specific player from Mamelodi Sundowns? Because
Look, Rose, I'm one person that watches a lot of the DDC football, and in the last year, Sundowns, there were a lot of players that stood out. Everybody were talking about 3 players. It was Umampena, Untando, and Uletlaku. And on Twitter, I've always been crying about that number 25 and how special he is. For me, Rose, it was mostly his technical skills that actually took my eye, because he is very, very comfortable on the ball. I always say he's friends with the ball. And if an opponent comes to him, he could dribble, a striker anyhow, especially when you want to press him. For me, Rose is his superb decision making, in that, and his excellent ball control. His passing accuracy, Rose, is second to none. He's got a vision. Six, in the he breaks windows with with amazing progressive passes. What I love him the most, Rose, is how he carries the ball and gets into midfield when there's space. Because when he does that, he disrupts the entire opposition pressing schemes, and he creates, an opportunity or even attacking the next line of pressure, Rose. And he does that at the pace.
Very interesting. In modern football, they say, if you've got a center back that can easily pass the ball, well, that's very comfortable. That's a plus, So for me as a young player like that, getting into a Mamelodi Sundowns team that has got so many stars, but he's slowly building his profile in that team. So I'll give you that one. So and I just want to say his versatility and tactical variation option he gives a coach. That's very key for me. I think that's what I want to look into.
Rose, look, something also that maybe I need to actually speak to. First of all, is how he always wants the ball. If you look at it at his data, he averages 87.9 touches per 90 minutes. And that for me tells about a center back that always want to be the ball. The other thing as well that I told about was decision making. And if you look at tackles won per 90 minutes, he averages something like 76.9% in terms of tackles won. But amazing Rose stats as well in the entire PSL. In terms of passing accuracy, that boy has a 93.8 passing accuracy. John Rose, this player is a special talent, Rose. You see, people always say as a center back, out of possession, obviously, is when you actually the best, because what you are doing, your primary role is to stop the opposition attackers in order for them to get into the box and score goals. But for me, Rose, I always say a center back is not only when you're out of possession, but when the club is in of possession. That is where I also rate a defender. That's why I keep saying that as a defender, for me, it's not just about defending only. Now football has moved into another direction where even what you do out of possession is very critical. What I like about this boy, Rose, is that he can play in a back three. He can play in a back four, you're right? He can also play in midfield, as I mentioned before. And for me, Rose, I've been saying this. I think his best position is playing in that central midfield. I think he could be the next big thing in that. For me, also, Rose, as I mentioned, is how versatile the player is. As I say, he can play in either of those particular roles. But Kakulu, Rose, his tactical awareness, positional intelligence. That boy, when he plays at the back or even midfield, he seems to know where to be at any phase of the match. But what helps Rose for him to be able to get into midfield when he comes into midfield, he's able to create some numerical superiority right in midfield. But the most important thing is that he can maintain position by defending with the ball, which is what modern football is moving towards, Rose.
Man, you definitely right, because in Mamelodi Sundowns it works for him because Mamelodi Sundowns likes to build from the back. So if he's comfortable on the ball, and we've been watching the games that he's been playing, it's always Ronian Williams always passing the ball, and then he gets into the try to pass it to the other players, right? Either at the back as well as his forwards. So you when you started the show, you mentioned OJ Mabizela, and now I can see that now you're mentioning the player that you're talking about. Are you trying to compare, or are you saying he's the next OJ Mabizela? My question is, aren't you taking it like so far? Because I was listening to a radio interview from Mabizela, and he was asked the question, Uti, does he watch the PSL? He said yes, he does sometimes. Is there any player that reminds me of himself that can actually take it to the kind of play that he was when he was playing? And he said absolutely no. So for you to actually say this is the next OJ Mabizela, don't you think that you are taking it too fast, man?
No, Rose, no. I think when that interview he did, Mabizela, he did it before he saw Khoza. If I'm not mistaken, it wasn't even last year. It was the other year. Look, Rose. This role of scouting, Rose, is identifying potential. The potential that you're identifying is if the player can succeed in a professional setup. So for me, the boy is a Mabizela to be. It's not a Mabizela now. Because remember, with scoutings, we are talking about the SE defines the now, but the to be is the journey, Rose. And it's what Khoza needs to do. From me, Rose, it's important for Khoza's development. If he wants to get into that level of Mabizela, number one, he needs proper coaching. You must be under a super coach. He needs discipline as a player. He also needs to follow his program for growth, Rose. The most important thing, Rose, he needs to play. The boy needs to play.
Yes.
He really needs to play. Then the last thing is the timing. He needs to be in the right team at the right time, because some teams are not playing youngsters in this. But for me, Rose, technical skills, physical conditioning, psychological traits, wow.
Yeah, man, wow. But do you think that in a team like Sundowns, do you think that he will get game time? Sundowns, they don't like to play a lot of their youngsters. Do you think that this player can break into that starting 11 that has got so many stars and so many experienced players?
Oh, look, Rose, the boy has already showed. He has already showed. If you look at, first of all, maybe let's credit to close to Roland. first of all, Rose, because Coach Rani, what he did is when he was coaching Sundowns, what the first team was doing, also the team in the DDC that was Coach Ubatela was also doing. What that helped Rose is when the player comes to the first team, at least is seamlessly adapting. And this credit here, Khoza, I will give it to Coach Rani, because the adaptation here, Khoza, to the first team is super amazing. But if you can look, Rose, the player as we speak right now, we're halfway through the season. He has already played 20 games, Rose. And that is about 1,389 minutes. If you take that, you equate it to 15 games. And he has scored 2 goals. Rose, I don't know what to say. But the other thing, Rose, is for me how the boy was raised. I'll share a little bit of a story. Unyango left and went to studies, and sometimes went to play in Cape Town. And Khoza was in the stands. When the game finishes, Khoza came down, obviously to say hi to all the players. And all the players were shaking Onyango because they were with that player 2 or 3 weeks ago. And everybody was shaking and hugging Onyango. And when it came to Khoza, he was wearing a cap, a rose. And when he gets to Onyango, he took off the cap. Then he shook his hand ka Onyango, and then he hugged him. Umandlula, he put back the cap. That rose alone, it tells you how the boy humble it is and what a family he comes from. And I really, really, really think, Rose, that player is the next Mbulelo Mabizela.
Man, you speak very highly of him, but we can also see, he seems like it's a young man that's very professional. As you need these kind of players that, just because you're in the PSL doesn't mean that you've made it. Doesn't mean that you've hit the ceiling. So that's very inspirational what you're saying regarding Khoza. But man, thank you so much for your insights. It's another week. We've profiled a very, very good upcoming player, and I feel like everyone is now going to look into Khoza. We're just praying and hoping that he gets a lot of game time, because for me, that is the future of Bafana Bafana. We really need, the current Bafana Bafana squad is doing so well. They've done so well. So we need the next future generation to actually, take the baton and carry this new generation of Bafana Bafana.
100%. In closing, Rose, let us touch the base where I just feel that the boy needs to improve on. Right at the end. For me, Rose, where I need him, Umfana, even if he is actually listening to or even watching this video, is I want him goals in his game. As a centre back, he needs to add goals. He's got 2 already out of 20 games. I need more at the end of the season. But I also want him to win more of the aerial duels, Rose. Whenever the ball is in the air, he must be the first to get into the ball. I also need the boy to be a little bit hard. I need him to be hard on attackers. He must be more aggressive, Rose. I need him not to get bullied easily. There was some game where he got bullied by Umakobo. Obviously, Umakobo has bullied almost everyone, in this league. I also need him, Rose, to variate his game, play more of the diagonal, plays more of the vertical passes. Because if I look at his statistics right now, he's got a 50%, a long ball accuracy, and I need him to improve in that. But most importantly, Rose, that we always talked about in the TTV show, we need PSL players to be more consistent. We need the same high level of performance every single game. He must not drop the ball, Rose. And lastly, Rose, he needs to improve his decision making. He needs to always take the best action in any situation inside the field of play. If you could get that right, Rose, I'm telling you, Rose, you will come back to this video and say, this boy is even better than Mbulelo Mabizela.
Really? Okay. No, I'll take your word for it, man. You are very good technical man, and you can break down these players. And it's good that you can spot talent while everyone is still has their eyes on the most talked about players. But you know what? I think we're gonna wrap it like that, man. I think you've said the pros and cons of the player, and it's very good that we highlight that. Even when what you're saying, that what he needs to improve on, I'm sure if he gets to watch this video, he will definitely do that. So, but guys, that's it for us for this week. We'll see you guys next week when we profile an upcoming star that I feel like, or we feel like, you guys should look into in the future. But just like that, man, it's the TTB show. It's the Big Daddy Scouting 101. We'll see you guys very soon. Bye.